All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Choppers are finally going to be banned from the deadly helicopter alley after the horrifying DC crash. Now, there's actually some more information that just keeps coming out about this, including that third passenger or the third pilot is not being told to the public. But there is a very other interesting thing that came out from this. Of course, they're banning them from this entire kind of path, but they also have basically shown us that this one was actually off course. The helicopter was supposed to be on a certain course, but it ended up not being on that course. Now, if you actually see this, it says last recorded locations of aircraft before the Washington, D.C. crash. And it shows the Black Hawk flying 200 feet, and it was off course. It says helicopter's approved flight plan was here, which assuming that maybe the plane would be higher at that point, and even if they did kind of coincide, maybe the plane would have been above it. But since it was over here, that may have caused the issue. Now, one thing I wonder is if any of these planes or any of these helicopters have technical difficulties, or if any of these newfangled things that essentially now, including Black Hawk helicopters, they are now making to where they can either have pilots or not have pilots. Could somebody actually hack this and cause something, especially if it was done last minute, something that you don't even have time to respond? We actually are going to be talking about on our other show coming up is the Philadelphia crash that happened. That one is even more insane. Of course, we're going to show you that on the next one. But yeah, this whole path has now been banned, and that is because of how dangerous and how insane it actually is. So as far as that goes, they said that the fatal errors that caused the deaths of 67 people of a passenger plane smashed into a Black Hawk over the Potomac River have been made crystal clear in newly released footage. As people are continuing to be pulled out of the wreckage in Washington, D.C., the Federal Aviation Administration is banning helicopters from entering the skies above. Seems like a smart deal, again, but they haven't exactly put the blame where they're going to fully yet, because it is such a crazy and insane tragedy. Again, we'll talk about this and the other crash that happened basically within 48 hours of this, or I'm sorry, 72 hours of this. It's absolutely insane. We'll talk about the Philadelphia crash on our next show. But before we continue, we're actually going to be talking about Army takes an extraordinary step to basically hide the pilot of this. I do want to remind you guys, if you don't have medicine and food, water, and medicine in that order, I would say if you don't have food and water first, get those. But if you do, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/Jace. Now, all of the affiliates on this show are things that I believe that will either help you save your life, make you comfortable through a disaster, or these are products that I firmly believe in will actually help you in any kind of disaster. So go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. This is an easy service. You do a telehealth appointment with a board-certified doctor, and you can get yourself a kit with all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. Again, if you have any kind of thing that you might want to add, you might want to check their list, because you have things like albuterol and emergency inhalers and all sorts of other things that you can add on, including things that, of course, Joe Rogan liked and CNN hated. So again, great stuff over there. They also have a service called Jace Daily. You might want to check that as well, because you can actually get a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds in bulk. And some people have found that their regular medications in bulk were cheaper than if they were buying them month to month. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/Jace. And make sure to use the code MARF. You not only give us credit, but you also help independent media at the same time as getting yourself ready. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So let's talk about how the extraordinary steps they're taking to not put out a name here.
Right. So the third person, which is presumably the pilot that was in training and probably the one controlling the chopper at that time, it is a female. It's a female pilot, and the identity is not being released. So the Army spokesperson confirmed the woman's name was being withheld at the request of her family. which is I guess it's something that can be done. So according to the military personnel that are perished in accidents or combat are usually made public 24 hours after the families are notified. So making the withholding of her name very unusual, but relatives of military personnel who perish in the line of duty can request to have their late loved ones' identities kept private. And apparently that's what this family has chosen to do. I don't know how long that's going to last, but even the New York Times came out and said this was an extraordinary step. It's not typical. It's not normal. So it definitely adds to a lot of curiosity as to what's going on. Even earlier yesterday, they had called out another person online and falsely named them as the person, the woman that they said was on in the control of the helm. But apparently she has come out and said, no, I'm here, and did an interview and said I'm still alive. Of course, she was also of a particular category that got everybody a little fired up over.
So, and of course, people are putting 1 and 1 and 2 and 2 together, because some of the speech that the president said, he basically sounded exactly sure why it was an issue, and then brought up several things like certain kinds of hiring. So people kind of said, well, then we probably have a reason to believe that this person was that. But at least now, we still don't know. This is a strange step, but you could also play devil's advocate here and say that a lot of people are going to be mad at that person. But, I mean, would the family be worried about kind of persecution to the family? I highly doubt that. The full blame would be on somebody who has now perished. Otherwise, is it something that is going to be, shame on the family or something? I don't know. Is this person somebody that we're going to find out that may be in that kind of targeted area of people that they wanted to hire but really shouldn't have been in a position, that kind of thing? I guess we'll have to see and wait and see. So again, I've never heard of that. Dex, have you ever heard of that, where you could hide the name like that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know they did that. I thought they always released names once the family was notified. But, I sort of understand, like, if you're that family and, ultimately, the initial, everybody sort of thinks it's the helicopter's fault no matter what, and she's the one piloting it, they're probably feeling like they're going to get a lot of ire pointed at them as soon as it's announced. So it could be a delay. It could be like them preparing themselves for how to deal with what may be coming, or it could just be that they're trying to hide it, or it could be something bigger. It could be part of a larger cover-up and using this to not tell us who that person was.
Because remember, the call sign for this was PAT-25, or Priority Air Transport, which I discovered the other night, what usually is reserved for when you are taking somebody special or a VIP on a tour or to see something. So I thought that this whole thing is super odd. And as far as this goes, you would think that if you were a soldier and you were an adult, that you would have to sign something away to be able to have your family be able to hide your name. Like, I understand the family being able to possibly delay it or something until it calms down or something, but to permanently hide that name, which I don't know if this is permanent. That to me seems like what if you were the soldier? What if, even if you perished in this and it wasn't the greatest, what if you wanted the rest of your military history public? And what if you wanted to be on a plaque or, get your name memorialized? That's what I don't understand. Like, how did they have to sign this off? If you're in the military, please let me know. Is there something where you can sign off your releasing name rights? I mean, I've never heard of that. And then we have LAPD's official explanation of the HELP satellite, this whole thing that went viral. Now, again, I don't think that no matter what they say, people are going to believe it, because when stuff like this happens, people are, of course, going to always question something like this, especially in a place like LA, where there is so much crazy stuff going on, where you, of course, have a lot of traffic going through it. One thing I did think about this is, if this was that, the real deal and people were underneath or something, that they wouldn't do it 1,000 times and put all these different words. I mean, they had to carry giant logs over. They're all out, doing this. And then you would be probably a little bit more specific. I don't know. But again, do you want to go over what they actually said? And if, just in case you guys don't know, on Google Earth, people all of a sudden found a recent photo of LA, and it had such words as help, LAPD, Traffico, and many helps. So essentially people thought that there's, something else going on. They also talk about the people that have theorized that there's tunnels underneath and all sorts of other things. But again, I've not seen anybody go there in person to verify if any of this stuff is there. If you have, then please let me know and link it to me or send it to me at adam@marfooglenews.com. But Dex, what are they saying the official narrative is?
Well, the police, of course, took an initial call and said they went out and looked at it, and they said there's nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. It is there. It was still seen from a traffic helicopter or one of the news helicopters that day, but they basically said it's nothing, nothing nefarious is happening in that location. So I guess they got out, walked around, didn't see anything happening, and left and said, don't worry about it. But, of course, everybody's still concerned, and I'm sure that is exactly what the police saw, right? They went, they probably saw it, and because it's an empty lot. It's a lot that's owned by was it Union Pacific, I think. It has a lot of railroad ties on it, which presumably is what they used, moving those around to spell out those words. And, the words, including trafficking and other things like that are on that. And it's right there on a train track. It's on the line, one of the main lines. And so, but they said they had a trouble call, so they went there and looked at it, and they found no reason. Now, locals said that they thought there was, some homeless people or others that were there doing things over time, and it had been ongoing. But that doesn't necessarily dismiss the concern that the public still has over it.
Yeah, lots of very odd things about the whole thing. So again, what are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to be polite too as well, because obviously we still have the overlords. And then the tariffs. So if you did not catch a lot of the stuff that's been going down, there are tariffs that are starting on Canada, Mexico, and China, begin essentially tomorrow. In an apparent ending to weeks of intense speculation, the White House confirmed Friday that President Donald will be leveling aggressive tariffs this weekend on major U.S. trading partners. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, said that Trump will be leveling a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada, as well as 10% duty on China in retaliation for the, quote, illegal penny that has been sourced and allowed to distribute into our country. Of course, speaking of the stuff that everybody's zoned out and passing out and zombified in all of our major cities. Now, most of all of this is coming from China. I was surprised that they said this for the Canada thing, but again, anywhere it would be coming from. It would be coming anywhere into the borders physically. While everybody's looking at the south, I could totally see a lot of this coming through the north. Now, when I first saw that the Canada was all included in this, I actually saw Canadian Prepper's view on this, and Canadian Prepper owns a business up there. He has an actual factory, or not a factory, a warehouse, and he does a prepping supply store thing, right? So I was curious, this is going to affect somebody like him. If he is going to sell to a majority of his audience, which is in, the USA, this would affect something like this. I'd love to have him on the show if he would be willing, but again, I wonder what is it actually going to change? And again, that 25% tariff essentially means if there's any goods bought from Canada, means that there is going to be a 25% fee added to that. So it is a big deal. It most likely will do some pretty serious damage to Canada, definitely to Mexico, if all of this stays the way it is. But there has, of course, been huge negotiation going on. Trump has been talking about Greenland and taking over Greenland for a wartime purpose. And one thing I agree on, and I've been saying, and many of my peers have been saying, is that this is in preparation for a war. Donald's not talking about taking Greenland, not hinting and joking about taking Canada, and not, talking about the Panama Canal because of nothing. It is because there is a current conflict that is brewing between ourselves and China and ourselves and Russia. Greenland would be a defense against not only Russia, but China. And then the Panama Canal would be something that we would use in a thing against China. So in all of this is really, really a huge change. And all of these big changes that are happening right now are going to affect the entire world. So it's a lot of big stuff happening all at once. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, real quick, Neil Nelson, thank you for the super sticker. And Stephen Click says it's probably still the D and the E, and the letter that comes after it, acronym, and how they lie about everything. So thank you both for that. Look, I totally get it. Like this whole tariff thing, it's actually going to hurt us in some regards. I mean, if we're buying something from Canada, it's going to cost us more, because if you think they're going to pay the 25%, they're just going to add it to the price and raise the price of the product. Now, it may just mean that we don't buy that product and we buy a different product that competes with it that's made somewhere else. Same thing's going to happen with China, because I think they're at 10% with them. But I have a sneaking suspicion that both sides are going to quickly cave, at least Mexico and Canada, to do something specific to stop the illegal stuff that's coming across the borders there, and prevent it from happening, or at least do what they need to do on their part to get this lifted. I don't know if China necessarily will. That'll be the interesting one, because that's a big deal.
Why is it not 50% on China and 10% on Canada and Mexico? That's one thing I don't get, but I understand. So he's trying to get Mexico and Canada to step it up. Otherwise, they'll be creamed in their pockets. But it's like China's the real culprit. So that's where all of this stuff is being made. But what do you guys think? Let me know. And then join us for the next show. We're going to talk about that Philadelphia crash, which many people theorized. It is very nuts. It comes right in. And some people even thought it was some sort of weapon. You can pretty much see this thing. I'm wondering if, like we said, it's really strange. We covered this a few weeks ago, that they said that Putin was going to be controlling planes and, doing all of these plane events. Now, in like 72 hours, we have 2 major plane incidents happening. It seems very, very odd. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about war because, again, there's a lot of crazy things that have just popped up. Dex, go ahead.
And real quick, Marilyn and the Faye King, I can't see the last of your name, sorry. Much love, Adam. I too have had teeth issues, no dental, past 10 years until recently. Hope you feel better. Thank you, Marilyn. Merlin, not Marilyn.
Oh, thank you. And I'm still recovering. I can't do any more antibiotics because I did them for a month. Right when the antibiotics ended, I got the craziest sickness. So I appreciate that. And it was like a respiratory / flu 104 fever at one point. I luckily caught it when it was like right there, and then got it back down and stuff. And then it hasn't been high like that. It was at 101 last night during the show. So, but I got it back down again. Thank you guys, and I appreciate all of your patience. It's hard for me to talk a little bit, but it's getting better. All right, you guys, we'll see you over on the next show. Please make sure to join us again. And we also have put a full bibliography over on marfooglenews.com. If you haven't already, you can go over there and find a full bibliography. So if you wonder, like, where the heck are they getting this? Where's your source? Source, bro. There we go. Nothing to look at here. You can find a whole list of everything, including tweets, articles, videos, pictures, documents. All right, see you guys in just a minute. If you're in the chat, you'll be ported over automatically. Again, if you are watching the replay, all you have to do is click here.